What's up, everybody? Josh Cherry here for episode number 2 of 417 Sound. And today I am so excited. One of my favorite local artists and a good friend, Maddi Warren, is here. Everybody super excited. Hey, Maddi, how are you?
Hi.
Good to see you. How you been? Everything going good?
Yeah, everything's going well. Good to see you too.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit. I saw we were just talking before we came on air that you were in St. Louis the other night. And so you're kind of branching out. I know you're branching out a lot out of the 417. So tell me a little bit about your St. Louis
Yeah.
shows and how that went.
Oh, it went really well. We got the opportunity about a year ago to go up and play a private show for some people in St. Louis. So at that time, I had reached out to a few places around the area, and one of the places that got back to me was 311 Winehouse, which is where we played on Friday night. And it's a really cool little, it's an old building. It used to be a salon, I guess, and then they turned it into a cozy little bar. So a bunch of our friends and from up there joined us, and it was a really, really good evening.
Awesome. So what kind of music crowd do you have in were you in downtown St. Louis? Were you kind of in the outskirts?
We were in the outskirts. We were actually in St. Peter's, but it
Okay.
was close enough for all of our St. Louis area peeps to join us.
Awesome. That's very cool. So, for those of you who don't know, Maddie and her sister Allie usually play together. I'm bummed that we don't get to have Allie on
Mhm.
tonight, but
Yeah.
they're a really really talented duo, and I promise this is not going to
Thank
be a
you.
theme with all of my podcasts, but Maddie and Allie are also Stone County 417 folks. Like I've
Yes.
known Maddie for a really long time. She went to school right down the road in Blue Eye, so kind of tell me a little bit
Mhm.
about your upbringing in Blue Eye and kind of how you got started in music, because there's not a whole lot to do in Blue Eye or Reed Spring for that matter. So kind of how did you get into that, and kind of walk
Very
me
true.
through kind of what got you into it.
Okay. Well, I've lived in Blue Eye my entire life. My parents have a bunch of property here, so they live like Blue Eye's in the middle of nowhere, but they especially we have like hardly any neighbors. So we growing up, I didn't have a lot of things to do, but we spent a lot of time outside. So whatever we were doing, whatever projects my dad was working on, we were always listening to music. So, from a really young age, I learned that I loved just about every genre of music out there. And then I figured out that I loved singing, and I used to put on shows when I was younger for my family, which I'm sure they grew sick of very quickly, but it was just always something that I really liked doing. And as I went through school at Blue Eye, they had some choir opportunities when I was in elementary school that I joined the choir, and we got to perform at different places in Springfield and Branson. So that was a good experience for getting out in front of people, but still not being totally on my own. I was with a group, so that took the
Right.
pressure off. And then I did some talent shows and that sort of thing at school. And it just kind of morphed into something that I realized I really, really enjoyed singing in front of people, but you can't really sing a cappella for 3 hours in front of a crowd. I mean, well, I could, and I'm sure there's voices out there that people would listen to that, but I figured out that I needed to pick up an instrument or find a band or do something like that. So I got the opportunity to do a fundraiser with, I'm sure you know Sean Campbell and
Oh yeah.
Kimberly. It used to
Yep.
be Patrick, but now Atwood. They kind of took me in when I was younger. So when I was 14, 15, I did a fundraiser with them and got to play with the band and fell in love. So then I realized live music was the route I wanted to go. So I played a few shows around with them. And at the time, their drummer was Dan Stricker. So we that band, they started, it was not really going away, but they were dissolving, kind of changing out members because Kimberly was doing she was going a different path. So Dan and I went ahead and we formed a duo act. So it was me on guitar and singing and Dan playing drums. And we played as Madison Avenue for, gosh, I don't, a long, long time.
I
So
totally
that
forgot about that
was
name.
yeah, yeah, that was the biggest portion of my live music experience was playing with Dan, and it was great. We played so many shows and got to travel to a lot of places and play for a lot of great people. So it was a great opportunity to really get out there in front of people and figure out, what I like doing and what songs I liked singing. Just a great experience all around.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's
Thank you.
you brought up Kimberly. I just talked to her. She
Yeah.
just messaged me back today, so we're gonna have her on the podcast
Awesome.
eventually. And that's kind of how I got interested or introduced to you, was kind of through Kimberly. And we've
Hmm.
played a lot of the same venues. And so seriously, when I tell you that you are one of my favorite local musicians, I just think your sound is super unique, and what you and Allie have
Thank you
together
so
is
much.
really, really cool. And I love seeing, Casey and I talked about it last episode. Like, I'm a really big like, I love supporting, like, I think we should all support each other. Like, we're all in this together. And
Absolutely.
anytime,
Yeah.
if somebody's not coming to my show and they're coming to your show, like, no skin off my back. I'm for it,
Right.
and so I
Yeah.
see, I see people that are posting about going to your shows and stuff. And it's just, you guys are just awesome. So I love
Thank
seeing
you.
how much success you've had, and it's been great. So kind of tell me, I mean, kind of
Thank you.
when did Allie come into the mix? And obviously I know your sisters, so
Sure.
she's been in the mix for a while, but
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because there's 9.5 years between us, age difference. So she was being dragged around to shows when she was very young. And I don't think she always really liked going. She was pretty bored at shows when she was younger and didn't really like doing it. So I never thought she would take up an instrument or want to play. But she decided about 3 years ago that she wanted to start playing bass. And I was like, awesome. Would you consider playing bass in an act with me or singing? And she is so unique because she likes very old music. She knows deep tracks, like really, really, and she has such a broad taste in music. So when I asked her if she wanted to play with me, I didn't know, because my genre is more of that country folky singer songwriter, and it's not totally what Allie's into. But when we started learning some cover songs, it just fit. I mean, it just clicked. And I'd never been able to sing harmonies really with anybody else before. And with her, it just fell into place. So it's been really special. And I'm glad that she decided that it's something that she likes doing, because she's a natural at it. I'd give her a hard time most of the time because she just picks up on things easily. She's got that natural ear and ability to hear something and play it, whereas I have to spend hours and hours practicing what I'm doing. But she's very gifted when it comes to music.
that's awesome. Well, so I kind of touched on. I need to apologize. I've got a 4-month-old daughter, and I think she's really angry right now. If you can hear her in the background.
I understand. I had to leave my house because I have a 2-year-old, so I had to come to a
There you
different building.
So I touched a little bit on your sound and how I just think it's so unique. Number one, do you ever get compared to anybody? And number two, kind of who are your musical influences?
Yes, I think the biggest one that people bring up is Stevie Nicks. A lot of people draw
Fine.
comparisons between our voices. Um, Another one that is requested a lot is Janis Joplin, and because there's some rasp to it. But I would say those are my top two that people tell me I sound similar to. But as far as my influences go, I grew up listening to bluegrass a lot with my dad. So my dad listened to bluegrass. My mom listened to more rock. So it was kind of a cool mix. And I would say I really like Gillian Welch, Bella White, Tyler Childers, Coulter Wall. Those are some of my big influences as far as the sound goes. And then songwriting, Brent Cobb is huge. I just love his writing. And I also am a huge fan of Nicholas Jamerson. I think his writing is incredible. So those are some of my big influences that I can think of off the top of my head. But
Yeah, I
there's
was
so
going to
many
bring up.
great people out there.
Oh, for sure. I got the chance
Yeah.
when I was working at a resort. I got the chance to book you, and I sat and watched your show,
Yeah.
and you played a Brent Cobb song, and I was like, "Nobody ever plays Brent Cobb. This is great. I
I
love it."
love sitcom, yeah.
I know. I love like anytime I go to a show, or I'll play something like kind of off the wall like Brent Cobb, and if somebody
Mhm.
recognizes it, it's just like, okay, this is cool because it's kind of a more
Yeah.
of a deep cut, I guess. And so
Yeah.
yeah, he is a phenomenal songwriter. Um, so I took part of your "Can't Be Saved" music video and put it in my intro. I love that song, and the
Thank you.
music video is phenomenal. Everything about it is great. So I kind of want to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of people write songs from personal experience, obviously, pain,
Mhm.
whatever. That's
Sure.
"Can't Be Saved" is a really deep, like emotional song. Can you kind of walk me through
Mhm.
that, and then just kind of talk about your songwriting process? Do you kind of sit down and with the intent of writing a song, or do you just kind of go with the flow as it comes to you?
Okay. Can't Be Saved, a lot of people have asked me if it comes from personal experience, and I can't really say that it does. It was more of just an idea that came to mind because I was talking to some people about they were struggling with something, they were trying to overcome something, so it just kind of morphed from that into that song. I As far as my process goes, I write a lot in my car, which sounds kind of dangerous. So I'll explain that I'm not like texting or writing things down while I'm driving, but a lot of times words or lyrics or melodies pop into my head. So I'll like record on my phone real quick. And then when I get home, if I'm still in that mode, I can finish a song out. But I have a lot of trouble. I can't sit down and write a full song in one sitting. It takes a lot of coming back to it, and it has to be at the right moment when I'm really feeling like it. So, Can't Be Saved took a long time. And the final push to finish it was there was, I don't know if you watch Gyms on VHS, their videos on YouTube, and they focus on a lot of songwriters and independent artists, and they were having a contest, and I was like, I think this song would be a really good fit. And I had part of it written, but I struggle the most with chorus. So I was trying to get a chorus down and struggling and struggling. So when that contest deadline came up, I'm very much a deadline driven person. So that pushed me to finish that one. And I was so pleased with how it came out. It's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written, just because I'm glad that you get that from it. It does, it's very deep and meaningful to me, not from personal experience, but just from different stories that I've taken from other people and their experiences. And that's what I use to write it. So it does mean a
Sure. Yeah.
lot to me.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And it's kind of it's almost like a kind of a backwoods paint. Like that's kind of the overarching, like,
Yeah.
a lot of musicians around here, like that's kind of the songs that come from the sticks. And not that Blue
Mm-hmm.
Eyes entirely the
Right.
sticks, Reed Spring, but I mean this, the Ozarks, it's just it's Ozark
Right.
mountain music. So tell
Yep.
me a little bit about. I saw on Facebook that you were putting out your song "Never Get Out." Speaking of songs from the Sticks,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the Singing in the Woods festival competition. So tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
that, and kind of what you're in the middle of this
Sure.
competition. People need to go. Is that still going on?
They closed the competition, and it was kind of one of those. I think that Nicholas Jamerson put it out there just to see what he would get, and I don't know if he was basing. I don't really know what he was basing on. So I don't. I just put it out there thinking, the more people that saw it and supported it, maybe it would help my chances in him seeing it and getting a chance to play. But it was also a good experience for me to see. That's my favorite song to play right now. So if it was something that people would like to hear in my set regularly, if it was worth putting on my next album, or just leaving it as a single. So um, I was really proud of how that came out. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no, I thought it
as
was
far
great,
as
and you ended up
the
having
thank you.
you had 5,500 views, and that's not too shabby.
Yeah, I was really shocked. I was very thankful for all the people that shared, and I appreciated all the kind words you had to say and sharing it on your page. That helped a ton. So I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no, absolutely. I love, and especially not just local musicians, but also like the handful of us that are from here and from Stone County.
Yeah,
Like it's a whole new tug on the heartstrings. It's
right.
fantastic. Do you kind of feel like you lean into that a little bit in terms of being from the rural, and not just in country music, but like if you go see a Maddi
Mhm.
Warren show, I mean you've got the whole get up, like it's all part of the persona, and it's not a persona, it's
Right,
who you are. um I mean, do
right.
you feel like you lean into that a little bit, or is that really just who Maddi and Alli are?
Yep, I think that's just who we are. And from I don't know, like when I first started playing out, I was so young that I was still kind of searching for my sound and what the whole thing, the whole look and everything. So now I feel like Allie and I are really reaching what we think, what I've always wanted to be, like my full authentic self as a
Yeah,
musician, I guess. But it's so hard to figure that out because there's I don't know. You run that line, especially growing up playing primarily covers. You want to be a crowd pleaser, you want to play what people want to hear and that sort of thing. So finding that balance between playing what the songs you love to play, but also playing what the crowd wants to hear. So I don't know. I feel like we're getting a little bit closer every show, so that's always good.
yeah, no, that's awesome. Do you think that you are? I mean, would you consider yourself more of an extrovert or an introvert?
Ugh, introvert for sure.
See, that's the thing. People
Yeah.
always assume that performers are extroverted, but there's a lot of them, and I
Mhm.
think probably a lot more songwriters are introverted than extroverted. But
Yeah.
people always just assume that, oh, you're on stage, you're playing, you're extroverted, but I know that
Right.
a lot of people aren't. So how do you kind of deal with
Yeah.
that? Is that kind of a internal struggle for you? Do you feel like you have to change your personality when you're on stage?
I I think the biggest thing to me is I don't have a problem playing and singing, but when it comes to in between times interacting with the crowd, that has taken a lot of work for me because I'm so critical of everything. I overthink everything I say, and I don't want to offend anybody, or I don't want to say anything that comes across as ignorant. So it's but I mean, honestly, I figured out you just have to let that go. You just have to just go with what you think at the time, and it just has to come out. You can't really plan, or I mean, I seriously used to write down topics to talk about on my set list in between songs because I was so afraid that I wouldn't think of anything, and I would go from song to song and say thank you, and just start into another one. So I'd have to play 40 songs in one set because we were just zooming through them.
Yeah.
But it's gotten easier. It has taken a lot of work though, and the nervousness of talking is always there for sure.
Yeah, right. So, what are some of your favorite, I don't want to say favorite venues, but like what are you more of a, like, do you like the more intimate things? Do you like you last year went and played a pretty good sized theater. Was that in Iowa? Is that
Hmm.
right? So
It
are
was
you
in
more in
Illinois.
Illinois? Okay. So are you more into
Hmm.
like the intimate campfire type shows, or are you cool with, I mean, obviously you're cool with both, but which do you prefer?
I prefer more intimate settings. I definitely the outside campfire. We got the chance to play at a glamping site last year, and that was amazing. I mean, it was literally by a campfire and us playing a set in front of a tent. It was awesome. So that would be my preference. I love playing both, but the theater almost it was a little bit overwhelming stepping into that.
Yeah.
A lot more seats in the house to play in
Right.
front of, but it was still an amazing thing. I mean, just to have the opportunity to go there, I was so thankful.
Yeah, that was really cool. So when did you bring in the kick drum on the suitcase into your act? 'Cause
Mm,
that's so cool.
let me see. Thank you. I think it's been 4 or 5 years because I was playing it a little bit before Allie and I were playing together. I did some solo stuff, and that's when I tried to bring the kick drum in, and that's the whole thing. How that turned out was funny too, because my dad, he runs all of our sound and takes care of all that for us, and we're extremely blessed to have him do that. But he also will build anything we ask him to build, and he built that drum for me and all of my drum attachments. Everything I'm playing with my feet, my dad built. So I think that's incredible that he can do something like that. And I went up and showed him what Shaky Graves had, and I said, "Do you think you could work something out like this for me?" And he was going to flea markets, finding different things he could put together, getting suitcases out, and he pulled it all off. And then I had to learn how to play it, which took way longer. So it
Yeah.
was really, really cool. It's been a
Yeah.
great addition to the show.
Yeah, it does. It surprisingly, I mean, it adds way more than you would ever think it would add. I mean, it really
I
does.
know.
It kind of the one man band feel, a two man band, the two woman
Yes.
band.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you only play guitar other than playing your foot attachments, or do you play piano or anything else?
Nope, only guitar. I've tried to
Guitar. Well,
learn piano a few times and it has not panned out. So
it's very
maybe
frustrating.
someday.
I've tried too.
It
It's a
is.
frustrating instrument.
Yeah. Yes.
What kind of guitar do you have? Do you have several? What's your favorite one?
I have a few guitars. I primarily play my Martin, and
Martin
it's
Gang.
like
Martin Gang.
yeah, yeah, it's a performing artist series Martin. So it's a little bit smaller body, which is
Mhm.
easier for me to play because I have really small hands. So some of those bigger guitars, it's hard for me to bar chords and that sort of thing. But I also have a Gibson, which is beautiful sounding guitar, but it's mine and my husband's. We got it as a wedding gift, so I only get to play it sometimes. He's a little particular about he doesn't want it to get beat up or anything, so it's
Yep.
not my gigging guitar, but it's
Yep.
it's a dream to play. It's a beautiful instrument too. I I would say Martin's probably my favorite, just because I'm the most familiar with that instrument. That's what I've played the longest.
Yeah, I was telling Casey on the last episode, I started out with a Fender acoustic and played that for 10
Me
years
too.
before I finally upgraded to my Martin, and when I sat down and played my Martin, I was like, "This is what a guitar is supposed to sound like."
Yes,
A
absolutely,
whole a
absolutely.
whole different planet of quality. So that's really cool.
Yep.
I had no idea that your husband plays music.
Yes, he does. He doesn't play live. He won't play in front of people, but he's pretty darn good. He plays guitar, a little bit of mandolin, and harmonica. So he's very musical. He just doesn't want to play for other people. He just does
Yeah.
it for himself, which I think is cool too.
Yeah, there's
I
nothing
beg
wrong with
him to
that.
play in shows. No,
Yeah.
but he won't do it. He says no.
That's all right. And you've got a little boy you said is 2 now,
Uh-huh.
is that right? 2
Yeah,
years
he
old, and
he
you
will be 2 in a couple weeks. Yep.
okay. And your day job, you're a teacher.
Yes, yeah. I teach 3rd grade at Blue Eye Elementary.
So hometown girl teaching the next
Yep.
generation. They've got
Yep.
they've got Blue Eye legend Maddi Warren as their teacher. That's gonna be
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about legend.
so. I mean, for your son, do you hope that your son gets into music someday? And do you do anything musically in the classroom to try to encourage the next generation of musicians?
Yes, they love it when I bring my guitar, so we'll do that sometimes, and I'm hoping to I wanted to do it this year, but I moved from a different grade level. So I was teaching middle school before this year. So I'm hoping next year I can teach them multiplication fact songs. It just wasn't in the cards this year. I didn't have enough time to learn them, but that's what I'm hoping for next year. But as far as anything else, I just mainly play for fun for them sometimes right now. But it would be cool to incorporate that into curriculum. I'm sure they would love that.
Yeah,
They love
we got taught
anything.
the Pythagorean theorem, the x equals negative b
There
plus
you
or minus
go.
a something over square. It was set to a it was set to a song. I remember.
That's awesome. That's
I've never
awesome.
touched that theorem the rest of my life, so I
Yeah.
think we spend time learning a lot of things in school that we just never use again. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, so when you're playing live, do you and Allie typically stick to a set list, or do you take requests also?
We take requests. There's not a lot of, I mean, we know a few of them, but sometimes we get off the wall requests. So we kind of bounce back and forth, but we typically make set lists, and Allie gets so frustrated because I skip around so much. But it's so hard to predict. I change based on the crowd, based on the room, the time of the night. It's very rare that we go 3 songs in a row on the set list or stick to a
Yeah.
plan. But I think it's
Yeah.
good to be flexible.
It is, and you never. I mean, like if I go to a bar, I'm not ever going to start with Friends in Low Places. Like I'm going to let them get a few
Yeah,
drinks in before that. You know what I mean?
right, right. Yep, absolutely.
So what's the? This is I asked Casey this question, and I think it's going to turn into a recurring question. What song request makes you roll your eyes?
Ooh, oh gosh.
Do
Well,
you ever get one that you're like, I'm not, I don't care how much money you put in my
I
jar, I'm not playing
do.
it.
I do. It'll probably be the same one for every musician you ask, but mine is Wagon Wheel. And in
Yes.
recent years, Tennessee Whiskey has been that way for me. But I don't know. It's so hard because people love certain songs and you don't want to bum them out. But as a musician, it's like, ugh, I do not want to play that. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Imagine being Old Crow Medicine Show or Darius Rucker and
no,
having to play Wagon Wheel every single show. Because
I
that was my
know.
answer too. Every time I get Wagon Wheel,
Yeah,
I'm like, do I have to? Like it's gonna
yeah,
cost you more than a $5 bill to get that Wagon Wheel out of
right.
me.
Well, I realized
Um,
Wagon Wheel was going to be like that when we played the fairgrounds. It was several years ago. I was actually playing by myself, and after my set, we walked around to all the stages in the fairgrounds, and every genre of music from screamo to country to rock, they all covered Wagon Wheel. You would walk around the fairgrounds and hear it in everybody's set, and I was like, oh goodness, like
yeah,
it's just gonna have to stop.
too much Wagon Wheel. Too much Wagon Wheel.
Yes.
What so I know you said you grew up kind of listening to bluegrass. If I'm with
Mhm.
you and we're going on a road trip, what's your music of choice? Do you like to take a little break from the country folk stuff, or is that pretty consistent with what you listen to in your free time?
It's pretty consistent. It depends on probably my mood. On road trips, I primarily stick to that country folk type
Mm-hmm.
feel. I really like
What?
listening to, as far as bluegrass goes, Ricky Skaggs is one of my faves. Johnson Mountain Boys. Those were some of my childhood favorites because we had the CDs and wore them out. But yeah, so I like to stick to that vibe when we're traveling. It's just good music to drive to.
Yeah, for sure. What's the song you've got on repeat right now?
Whew. I would say Peace Mountain by Nicholas Jamerson. And is it, I think Charles Wesley, is it Goodwin or Godwin? I always mess it up. He sings with him on it, and it's great. It's a great
Okay.
song. It kind of reminds me of the feel around here. So
Yeah.
I've got that
Yeah.
one on repeat.
One of my favorite bands, and they're not together anymore, was the Civil Wars. Did you ever listen to the Civil Wars?
Ah, yeah, I loved them. They were great.
They were phenomenal, and it's like the
Hmm.
definition of just that like pain and soul, and just like I would listen to
Yep.
them till my ears bled. But
Yeah.
uh, they've got a song called Barton Hollow that is one of my
Oh
all-time
yeah.
favorites, and it's just super like reminds me of home, but like in the worst ways.
Yeah.
um,
I know what
but
you mean.
yeah, so do you have any like what are you working on right now? Do you have any songs you're writing right now? Kind of what's
Hmm.
going on in the Warren sisters world at the moment?
Well, we recorded two singles. I think it was in December, and we released one of those. So we've got another one coming up. Just trying to figure out when to release it because I've got an album worth of songs ready to record right now, like in the final stages. So we are going to record next week, next Tuesday. We're going to lay down some more tracks. So hopefully an album will be in the works summertime is what my goal is. So we hopefully will meet that goal. We shall see.
Awesome. When you're not playing, are you a fan of concerts? Do you like to go listen to big
Mhm.
like national touring acts, or do you just kind of stay away from live shows to get all together?
Oh no, I love to go to live shows as much as I can. I've been going less, since having my son, just because when we're not playing, we spend more time at home. But my mom's been so great to keep him, so we still get the opportunity to go occasionally. We just went up to Columbia to see John R. Miller play in January, and that was awesome. And then let's see, before that, I don't remember who I saw last, but I do love going to concerts and even supporting live people around here. I like to go to live shows. So we got to go to several
Yeah.
performances this winter because we didn't play a whole lot this winter. We were trying to record and just taking time off. So we got to see Justin Larkin quite a bit and go to the open jams in Springfield and that sort of thing. So it was a good time. I enjoyed that.
That's cool. Do you have a favorite concert you've ever been to?
Probably Allison Krauss in the Union Station is one of my all-time favorites.
Ooh,
That was my second concert, so it was incredible.
man. I was just talking with somebody about Ron Block and how awesome he is. Like her band,
Hmm.
everybody bluegrass is just a different it's a different tier of musician. Like
It
you talked
is.
about Ricky
It
Skaggs.
is.
Like Ricky Skaggs is a
Yeah.
wizard in everything he
Yeah.
does, everything he picks up.
Incredible. Yep. Yep.
I never like
Yeah.
I listen to Ricky and I'm like, how are you doing? How are you doing this? I don't understand. My fingers don't move that way.
I know. Just
Um,
amazing to watch and listen to.
for sure. So outside of music, what kind of things do you like to do? Obviously, a 2-year-old keeps your hands full a lot, but
Yeah.
kind of what do you do when if you're taking the winter off and you're not writing and you're not singing? Like,
Hmm.
what are you doing for fun?
I like to read a lot, so I'll read almost every time I get the chance to. It's been less with a 2-year-old, but I still find time. And then my husband and I like to go floating on the rivers, so we try to get out as much as we can. We like to go to the Kings and the Buffalo, and that's always great. It's so relaxing out there, so peaceful. But that's probably my favorite things to do besides just hanging out with family.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love floating. I haven't got to float to Buffalo yet, but I've seen
Oh, you
pictures
need to.
and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Um, so just a couple more questions. First of all, I'm curious to know, because your sound is so unique, and the whole your whole show is just a different experience. How would you say that your sound has evolved over time? I mean, I know we kind of touched on the whole stage presence thing over time. But I mean, just in terms of your
Mhm.
voice and your sound and working with Allie, do you think that's changed over time, gotten better, or just kind of tweaked things? Or do you kind of have the same foundation?
I think it's improved a lot to me from what I notice. I think my voice has matured quite a bit, and I used to sing things that I don't really think it fit my voice and my sound. So I think finding more what suited my voice has helped a lot in forming that sound, and adding Allie to the mix. I think that was the final piece for me lately. It just seems like it all works so effortlessly. I mean, we still have to put in a ton of work. That's not what I mean, but but it just flows easier, and it sounds like I've wanted it to sound for years, but didn't know how to achieve it. So
Yeah. And people like it's hard to explain, but I started a band this year, and it gets lonely when you're up there by yourself for 3 hours, and you're getting
yes,
peppered with requests, and you're getting peppered with nice people that just want to talk, or you're getting peppered with drunk people. I mean, it
yeah,
gets it's stimulus overload, really. I mean, you've got so many things going on. You're trying to make sure you're like you talked about with your set list. You got to read the crowd. You've got to
yep,
see, are they into this
yep,
song? Are they not into this song? And kind of balance all of
right,
that together. So just having somebody with you, even if it's just somebody playing a cajon, or a full band,
yeah,
or your sister or whoever, like having somebody up there with you to kind of bounce things back and forth, and it just alleviates a lot of pressure that is on you as a solo
definitely.
performer. So I can see where that would definitely be just kind of the, because you were great before, but just having that missing piece, and
Hmm.
having it be your sister has to be just a lot of fun,
Yeah,
and just relax the tension a little bit.
it definitely does. That helps a lot with the nerves, and it just makes it a lot more comfortable to play in front of people. And the sets fly by. I don't know if it's this way for you, but when I was solo, it sometimes it was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been playing for 5 hours, and it would be 30 minutes. Not that it wasn't fun, but I was worried, how am I going to fill, the rest of the show? I'm just flying through my material, but it doesn't feel that way at all with
Yeah,
Allie. It's just we get to the end of the show, and I was like, we could play for 3 more hours, and I'd be great with it. So
right. I was playing a show last year at Lynn Weddle Winery, and shout out to Lynn Weddle, one of my favorite venues locally.
yes,
They are just
same here.
phenomenal people, and they do such a great
Yep.
job with. I mean, they take care of us so well. Um, but I was playing a 3 hour show, and about, I don't know, an hour and 45, 2 hours through, one of the ladies came up to me and were like, "Hey, why don't you take a break?" And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Take a break, come get a beer or something." And I was
Yeah.
like, "You want me to take a break?" And she
Yeah.
she was like, "Well, everybody else takes, like, I've got people that take like 30 to 45-minute breaks." And I was like, "I have never
Oh
taken a
my
break."
gosh.
And ever since then, I started going forward like, "Okay, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes in the middle of the set." And everybody's so
Yeah.
cool with it. And I was like, I've just been grinding 3-hour shows
Oh my gosh.
out without a break
Oh my gosh.
for 7 years.
Oh my gosh.
It never really occurred to me. I was just like, I'm being paid to play, so I didn't keep playing.
Yeah,
And they kind of
I
like
know.
enlightened me that everybody else is taking breaks, and I'm, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm glad
So
you
now I feel
finally
like
discovered
a
that.
3-hour set is a lot more tolerable. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot. Just 3 hours straight. Yeah,
yeah,
that would
yeah.
be really tough.
So I've spent some time during this show bragging on you guys, because I truly am a fan, and I'm so happy for you both that the success that you guys have had is just awesome. But coming from you, what can people expect if they come and see you live? Just from the experience, the music, kind of what can people expect when they come to see you?
I would say a few hours of Ozark Mountain Soul music, and we try to play our favorite songs from other songwriters that we admire. but we mix in some of the crowd favorites, some of the popular stuff that we enjoy playing. I feel like our show, I don't know. I feel like it's pretty. We try to make it very cozy and family like oriented, just because that's how we are. So it's very much, I hope, comfortable for people. That's our goal. But yeah, as far as our sound, I would say it's definitely that rural Ozark Mountain. We try to put that twist on everything. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, being compared to Stevie Nicks and Janis Joplin, I would take that all day long.
oh my gosh, I'm always super flattered. Yes, two of the
Yeah,
greats.
absolutely. So my I know I said the other question that I asked was going to be my calling card question, but my real calling card question is two. I have two of them. The
Okay.
first one is, if you could play any venue in the world, and I'm going to take out the Grand Ole Opry again. You can't pick the
Okay.
Opry.
All right.
Play any venue in the world, what would it be?
Red Rocks in Colorado, hands down.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a
I
good
think
man. That would
that
be so
it's.
cool. I want to see a show there so bad.
I don't even know if I could make it through a song there. I think I'd just be so nervous. But yeah, it would be an incredible experience to play there.
I saw a video of Zach Bryan playing there in the snow, and it just was like, it didn't even look real. Like
Yeah, I
I
know.
think you're right. I don't know if I can do a song there.
Yeah, I don't either. I think the pressure would be too much. There's just been so many moments there. You're like, gosh, how do I even stack up? But yeah, that would
Yeah,
probably be great.
I watched a live recording of the Mumford and Sons there when I was in, like, I don't know, probably high school, maybe early college, and that's really the first time that I kind of felt the grandeur of Red Rocks. And ever since then, I'm just like, I want to plan a trip to Colorado just to go to Red Rocks. Like, I don't even care who's
I know.
playing. I don't care if anybody's playing. I
Yep.
just want to go see it.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
okay, so my last question, you get to build your dream concert from any
Uh
era,
huh.
dead or alive. You get an opener, a co-headliner, and a headliner. Can be any genre, any era. Who you got?
Whew. Put me on the spot. Let's see. Who are my favorites that I would love to see? Gosh. All right, I'm just gonna go with the three that popped in my head. All right, so probably Hank 3. Um, let's see, Tyler Childers, and hmm, I'm gonna have to go with Bella White probably
Very
as my
interesting.
third.
Okay,
Yeah,
very
yeah, it would
good.
be a interesting set, but I'll
Hey,
probably think of a different answer 30 minutes from now when we're not recording. But I still think that would be a fun show.
I think that's on. I think that is 100% on brand for Maddi Warren. So that's great, Maddi. Thank you so much for being here. I want you to tell the people where they can follow you, where they can listen to your music, and if you've got any upcoming shows off the top of your head that you know about and want to
Sure.
plug. Now's the time.
All right. You can go to maddiwarren.com for any of our events, any links to socials, but I'm also on Facebook at Maddi Warren Music, on Instagram at Maddi Warren Music, and I'm trying to be on TikTok and keep up with the kids these days. I have one video out, so if you want to go follow me and see if I post more, Allie's trying to help me out, but we'll see how that goes. And upcoming shows, I'm playing Queen City Shout Festival
Yeah,
next week, right? That's next week, yes.
yeah. Are you at
And
Moon City also?
I am at the Royal, but I'm sure
Okay.
we'll be hanging out down there. I'm at the Royal on Saturday the 25th from 8 to 9. So I'm
Awesome.
very excited to play that venue, very excited to go to Queen City Shout. It's always a fun time.
All right, Maddi, thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor to talk to you. Obviously, we've known each other for a long time. We've been friends, but to get a little bit of insight into who you are and your sound and everything has just been a pleasure. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was an incredible honor for you to have me as a guest. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We are going to close out the show with Maddi and Alli's newest song, Never Get Out. Check out the next episode of 417 Sound next week.
Just gotta get out of this holler, keep it looking more brighter. Just wanna find peace in the water. The devil gonna take me away. Oh, the devil gonna take me away. As they live a life full of murder, Mama said put the bottle down. Ash and dreams like the last cigarette, 'cause you'll never make it out of this town. No, you'll never make it out of this town. Working Morgan way down the shoulders, feel the place for the eyes of man. I beat the cycle like the moons before you. They never made it out of this town. No, you'll never make it out of this town. Heavy eyes and eyes in shadow, empty pockets full of hands passed down. Big man laughing high above you. You'll never make it out of this town. No, you'll never make it out of this town. Jack it up to the souls that share.